Welcome to Blockbuster Tales, where movies come to life through epic breakdowns. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for your weekly dose of cinematic deep dives. Let's dive into the story. The Stranger Things Season 6 opens several months after the shocking events of Season 5. Hawkins is eerily quiet, but the town hasn't healed. Cracks from the upside down still litter the streets, pulsing with faint red light. 11, having partially regained her powers, is training in isolation under Dr. Owen's guidance. Meanwhile, Mike, Will, Dustin, Lucas, and Max try to return to normal life, but nightmares and visions haunt them. The group senses that something is still very wrong. Will starts experiencing strange tremors in his body again, but this time they're different, like pulses of energy surging through him. He confides in 11, and they realize his connection to the Upside Down might not be just psychic anymore, it may be physical. A mysterious fog begins rolling into Hawkins each night, spreading quickly and choking the town in silence. Local animals go missing, and children begin sleepwalking into the woods. Hopper, now back as police chief, is overwhelmed by reports of strange disappearances. Joyce uncovers an old Russian signal buried in archived government files, sent to her anonymously. It contains coordinates and a cryptic phrase, "The Shadow is reborn." She and Murray investigate and discover that the Russians had secretly reopened a smaller gate deep in Alaska. At the same time, Nancy and Jonathan try to piece together new story for the Hawkins Gazette, but the town's paranoia makes information scarce. Max, still recovering mentally and physically, begins seeing visions of Billy, warning her of something worse than VEC and A. Dustin and Steve venture to an abandoned lab in Hawkins that once housed demogorgons. There, they find a shattered containment cell and claw marks along the walls. They believe something escaped, but not from our world. 11 is contacted in her dreams by the entity that controlled the Mind Flayer. It calls itself the Depth, and it's older than anything they've faced. She awakens terrified and bleeding from her eyes. Lucas notices Max writing symbols in her sleep, the same ones they once saw carved into the Upside Down's walls. The group reunites in Mike's basement and compares what they know. Will draws the same map-like shapes Max wrote in her sleep. The patterns from a portal map, showing multiple openings around the globe. They realize the Upside Down is expanding not just across Hawkins, but into the world. Owens brings news of tremors in other countries, London, Shanghai, and even Sydney. They're not earthquakes, they're breaches. The gates are opening everywhere. The team splits up. Hopper and Joyce travel to Alaska to shut down the Russian site. 11, Mike, Will, and Max head to a hidden underground vault Owens reveals beneath Hawkins' lab. Dustin, Steve, Lucas, and Erica investigate a possible gate underneath Starcourt Mall's ruins. As each team enters their location, they face increasingly horrifying distortions of reality, clocks ticking backward, people frozen mid-sentence, and gravity failing. 11 starts losing control of her powers under the emotional strain. In Alaska, Hopper and Joyce encounter Russian scientists who warn of an evolved creature created by splicing DNA from a demogorgon and an unknown entity. It's escaped into the world and is building something, a tower of bones on wires. Joyce activates a self-destruct in the base, but sees a haunting vision of Bob before escaping. Meanwhile, 11 and will discover that the Depth isn't just in the Upside Down, it exists in the spaces between dimensions. It feeds on fear and memory. At Starcourt Mall, Dustin and Steve descend into caverns that didn't exist before. They find old Hawkins relics floating midair, Barb's glasses, Billy's keys, even Hopper's old hat. They're inside a constructed memory field manipulated by the Depth to trap them. Lucas finds a door that wasn't there before. When opened, it reveals a version of Hawkins from 1979, untouched and surreal. Erica, against everyone's advice, steps inside and disappears. 11 realizes the depth is trying to merge the real world and the upside down permanently, using anchors, traumatized individuals like Will, Max, and herself to sustain the breach. She attempts to sever her connection, but doing so could kill her. Mike begs her not to, but Will insists it's the only way. In Alaska, Hopper sets off the base's destruction, believing they've stopped one of the anchor points, but the depth survives. Nancy uncovers a journal from Victor Creel left behind during his stay in Pennhurst. It contains sketches of a void where time doesn't move and describes a voice older than death whispering through the walls. Jonathan films their findings, but is attacked by creatures resembling shadow versions of themselves. Max confronts her vision of Billy and overcomes her guilt, which helps weaken the depth's hold temporarily, but it retaliates with a psychic storm. Dustin uses his radio setup to send a frequency bomb designed by Susie to disrupt the Upside Down's energy field. It works briefly, giving 11 enough time to push herself beyond her limits. She rips open a hole into the core of the depth. A swirling black sun and prepares to trap it inside. Will volunteers to go with her, realizing he was the first connection, and only he can help close it from within. As 11 and Will descend into the core, they experience visions of past seasons, their friends, their enemies, and every painful memory. 11 says goodbye to Mike, promising she find him again. In a final blast of light, they trap the depth, collapsing the Upside Down's network worldwide. All gates seal with thunderous force, causing tremors that shake the planet. Hawkins is left cracked, but the curse is broken. For now, months pass. The group honors 11 and Will with a memorial in the woods. Hopper retires from law enforcement and begins writing a book about everything they went through. Joyce moves to California again, hoping to start fresh. Steve and Nancy agree to part ways amicably, each finding peace. Max, finally free of her visions, starts therapy and art classes, drawing what she remembers of the depth. Mike starts receiving letters with no return address. Inside are cryptic symbols, familiar ones. He suspects 11 might still be alive in some form. Dustin starts a YouTube channel documenting their experiences, and it goes viral. Lucas becomes a counselor at Hawkins High, helping younger kids who were affected by the events. Erica starts building strange tech in her basement, saying, just in case. In a post-credits scene, a lab deep under the ocean shows glowing Upside Down spores. A new team of scientists records them, and one whispers, "It's still breathing." The final shot zooms into one of the spores, revealing a flicker of 11's eye inside it, open, aware, and waiting. Several years later, a teenage girl in a quiet Midwest town begins to exhibit strange telekinetic abilities during a school fire drill. She has no memory of her past, only visions of a girl with a shaved head and a boy with a bowl cut standing in the snow. Her nose bleeds when she focuses to heart, and every night she hears whispers in a static-filled dream. A familiar voice says just one word, 11. The cycle, it seems, is about to begin again.